The Notion API is finally here. The whole data science industry has been waiting for Notion to release its first beta version of their API. With this release, a whole new domain of data science has emerged with endless possibilities. What? You don't know what Notion API is? Don't worry, as in this video I am gonna clear all your doubts regarding Notion API and how you can retrieve data from the API using Python. So let's start the video. Let us first know what Notion really is. Notion is basically a productivity software that provides its users to store data in various forms, be it notes, Kanban boards, wikis, databases, calendars, reminders, etc. It also provides users with the ability to create their own systems like note-taking, database management, project management, etc. So you can say it gives you all your basic productivity softwares under one software. Overall, this is an awesome tool and is at hype right now. But that's not what this video is about. Notion developers have recently released the beta version of its API and the whole data science community is going crazy about it. One hell of a thug life the CEO of Notion must be having. The API will provide developers the access to Notion data through programming and allow the data engineers to perform their data sciencey stuff on it. Because apparently data science engineers seems to love data. Or maybe not. Before I start with Python, let me explain to you what an API is. Cause not everyone on YouTube is as smart as you, right? An API stands for Application Programming Interface. Basically, it allows two different programs to communicate with each other. Just like you should prefer to use a translator to talk for you in a language you don't know, or else this happens.
Swami Vive Kamunand.
Okay, enough of chit chat. Let's jump to the coding part. Before you coders open your editors, first you have to go to the notion.so site, sign up as a user, create an integration, create any list or board or any data you want to access, share the data with the integration, and take note of database ID and integration token. Basically, you just set up your Notion API with some data you want to access or change. If you want more information for setup of integration in Notion, check out the link in the description down below. I've already done the setup by creating a list of imaginary friends. Well, because they are imaginary. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've created a script here that performs the basic function of connecting Notion API with Python. It looks like a very complicated script, but trust me, it's a very simple one that performs the function of retrieving data from Notion API based on your database ID and your integration token. Okay, so I'm going to explain each and every line of this script one by one, and if you have any doubt, you can mention your doubt in the comment section and I will clear it once I read your comment. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the importing modules. Okay, here we have imported some modules and some functions which are required to basically make this script. Okay, so first is getopt. Now getopt is basically a module that is responsible to analyze command line arguments. Okay, there aren't much command line arguments in this script, but those few which are present are analyzed using getopt. Okay, if you don't know how to use getopt, you can mention in the comments. I can make a short video on it. Okay, next is the requests library. This library is responsible to actually make the HTTP request to Notion API. Okay, so this is probably the most important module used in this whole script. Next we have JSON, which is used to basically manipulate JSON object. It is also used to write on JSON file, and many tasks related to JSON are done using this module. Okay, next we have the art module. It's a very simple module which I have used just to create a attractive GUI ASCII art for the script. Okay, so you will see how the ASCII art looks. Next we have sys, which is again used to analyze command line arguments. And finally we have pretty table, which is used to display table in console in a very beautiful way. So that process is automated using this module. Okay, now comes our global variables. Here we have used a few global variables for the script. First one is the URL, which is actually the URL of the Notion API. Okay, we are gonna use this URL whenever we send a GET request or any other request to the Notion API. Next is the database ID. Right now it's empty, but we will fill it like below in the script. And next is integration token. Same with that, we are gonna fill it right now. Okay, next we have retrieving database and integration token from the files. Now as you can see, I have two files here, database ID and integration token. So what I've done is that I've stored the database ID in database_id.txt, and I've stored the integration token in integration_token.txt. Okay, and what these two what this portion of script does is that it simply reads the database ID and the integration token from the file. Okay, now let me tell you, although I should hide integration token, but I'm gonna just delete this integration token after this so that it won't be used by anyone else who's watching this video. Okay, but I will ensure that you make sure that your integration token remains secret. Okay, next I move on to this comment. Now before I explain some more things about this script, I have to explain this curl command. Now for those of you who don't know, curl is basically a command line tool which can be used to send HTTP request. Okay, and as I told you before, we are going to send HTTP request to Notion API. This is how the curl command should be. Okay, so as you can see, we are sending a GET request, we are sending it to this URL. Now note that we are adding the database ID after the database, which means that we will have to also do it because we have in our URL mentioned database but not the ID. So we will simply add it right here. As you can see, I've added the URL plus database ID. Okay, and as you can see here, these are three headers which are important to mention whenever we send our request to Notion API: authorization token, content type, and Notion version. Authorization token requires our integration ID, so we are going to mention it right here. And also we are going to mention all the three headers within this request headers which we are going to use in future. And finally we have this response object which is currently at none, but we are going to fill it below in the script. Okay, next in this script we are going to check the functions that will be required to perform actions on this script. First one is check connectivity function. Now this function is executed first and is important because this function checks not only whether your computer is connected to the internet or not, but it also checks whether your database ID and integration token that you mentioned in those two files are correct or not. So the question is, how does it do that? Well, it's pretty simple. It simply sends a GET request to the URL, and if the URL responds with 200, it means that the database ID and integration token were correct. The request was accepted by the Notion API. If it does not, then it performs its simple kind of troubleshooting. Okay, so here I am using the requests library to send a GET request to our URL with the custom headers that I just mentioned here. Okay, and we capture its response. If the status code of response is 200, which means the request was successful, it will simply move out of the function because everything is alright, there is nothing to check. But in case if it's not, then it will check for internet connectivity. Okay, how does it do that? It simply sends a GET request to google.com. Now since google.com is up and running 24/7 all the time, so we can rely on this side that if any computer is able to send GET request to google.com, this means that the computer is connected to the internet, otherwise it's not. So so again we will send a GET request to google.com and capture its response. In case if we get a 200 status code in the response, it means that the computer that we are working on is connected to the internet, but somehow the database ID or integration token must be wrong. So it gives a proper error message and closes the program in that case. And in case the status code is not 200, which means we are not connected to the internet, it will simply respond with unable to connect to internet, please check your internet connection and try again, and again it will close the program. And here, since this whole is written under try block, I have also mentioned an except block in case if it ever happens. So I hope you are clear with check connectivity function. This function can be used in many scripts whenever you want to check whether your system is connected to internet or not. Next, we have the retrieve data function. Now retrieve data function performs a very simple task. It's again sends a get request to the Notion URL, and then it captures the response, and then it takes the response and retrieves the JSON data in it using the JSON function present inside the requests object. Okay, so it simply retrieves that data and returns that data. That's all this function does. There is nothing much to get here. Okay, next we have save data as JSON function. Now this function is responsible to save the data that has been retrieved by the Notion API into a JSON file within the local system. Okay, so it takes two arguments. Number one, data, which is the actual data that was retrieved, JSON data, and second is the file name, that is the name of the file which needs to be saved. Okay, the name of the file which has to be saved, like data.json or any other file name.json, something like that. Okay, so now there are two scenarios in it. Number one, when user enters .json extension within the file name. In case if user does that, it will simply take the file name like data.json and it will write all the, it will, as you can see, first we have used the open function to create a file and open it in write mode. That means we can write on it, and then we use the file.write function to write on it, and json.dumps function to actually write the JSON content onto a JSON file. Okay, this is where JSON like module is being used. Secondly, in case if the user does not use .json extension in the file name, what it does that it will automatically add the .json extension, and then it will again write the JSON data to the file using the json.dumps function. Okay, next we have the display_data function. Okay, this function is really important in the sense that it is responsible for displaying data that is received by the Notion API in a beautiful way. Okay, so as you can see, it takes only one parameter, data, and it uses pretty table to create tables, console based tables, and display the data. Okay, so it displays data in the form of three tables. Table 1 contains the basic information like the database ID, creation time, last editing time, etc. Second is the display title information, which displays information about the title of the database, and third is the properties information, which displays information about the properties of the database. Okay, so as you can see, we have used the pretty table function to create a table first, then we add some field names within the table, and then we one by one add rows within the table which actually contains the data. Here we have used the JSON data and used the square brackets to retrieve certain information within the JSON object, and then we use the print function to actually display the data. Okay, so that's exactly what we have done in these two cases. In this third case, since there were many properties and different properties, we have used for loop to iterate through each name of the property and then display or add a row to the pretty table regarding that specific property. Okay, this is again, for loop is very useful here because we can add as much properties as there can be within the JSON object, which means even if there are 100 properties, although there are barely few of them, but if in case there are 100 properties, then it will also be able to do that. Okay, and again it prints the properties table. Next we have, now that we have understood each and every function used within this script, now it's time for the main function. Okay, so if I have used if __name == main. Now this is basically Now in case if you don't know what this statement does, I will share a link with you about my blog where I have mentioned what this statement exactly does. You can check out that blog to understand what this statement really means. Okay, here we have used three variables for analyzing command line arguments. First is read. That means that in case if first read is true, which means we have to read the data. Set title, it was used, but again we don't need it right now, so we can simply remove it for now. Okay, next is display ASCII art. Now we have used the art library to display an ASCII art which displays Notion API Python. Okay, this single line is enough to display the ASCII art, which is, to be honest, pretty cool. Next we have the first check for connectivity function. Here we are using the check connectivity function like I discussed before to check whether our system is connected to internet and whether we are able to access the Notion API or not. Here I have created a string like multi-line comment string which contains the help message for our script. So as you can see, the usage way is python main.py followed by options. Options, we have the help to display this message, read to simply read the database and display it, and third, save output where we can save this output in a JSON file. And this is how you can use it. Okay, so now first we will check that whether user has entered any command line argument or not. In case if it has, then it will simply move on. In case if they have not, it will display an error message and will display a help message. Okay, second, we will analyze the command line arguments. One more thing here, since we are displaying the error message, we also need to exit the application, so we will also do that here. Okay, next we will analyze the command line arguments. Okay, so we have used getOpt and this is how we have configured it. Now its configuration is a bit complex to understand. In case if you want, I can make a dedicated video on getOpt. Okay, for now we have just configured the command line arguments. Okay, and here we are analyzing the arguments, like if user enters help, display the help message, and again we will add one more line here that after help message the program should exit. Okay, second, if the user enters read, this means that his read will be true and it will display information that he's going to read data from the database. And finally we have this, and this is when if user wants to write output to a file, which means it wants to write its data to a JSON file, then again it will analyze the user's input. And finally performing action is where the real action is done, where it will retrieve data and display data, and if user wants to save file, it will also save data. Okay guys, enough of coding. Now as you can see, this is the database that I was talking about, that I am going to present its data using the Python API that I just created. Okay, as you can see, we have habit, we have the title, we have the running, meditation, 7 hours sleep, journaling, and screen time. Okay, so I am going to use this API. I have already entered the database ID and integration this. So first of all, let me just try to read it. Okay, so I will just use main.py -r, and if I enter it, this is our ASCII art. Here it's reading and displaying database, and as you can see, it has displayed the database with its content and about it in a very beautiful manner. Okay, now let's say if we want to save its file, so we can do output and we do database _data.json, and if I hit enter, and as you can see, again beautiful this, and it said it already shows us displays us the data, and already said that it has saved the output to database _data.json. Now if we check database _data.json, you can see that all the data that I was talking about is now saved here. Okay,